Well, let's go to the Patriot Mobile Newsmaker line. And by the way, welcome to the Todd Starnes radio program. She represents the 8th Congressional District from the great state of Arizona, Congresswoman Debbie Lesko. Congresswoman, Merry Christmas to you. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well. Unfortunately, I have to fly back to Washington, D.C. tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be home for Christmas.
You know, Congresswoman, before we jump to the border situation, there is a lot of anger among Republicans that Senator Mitch McConnell is basically stabbing House Republicans in the back by endorsing this massive, monstrous omnibus spending bill. I want to get your take on that.
Well, I don't like the omnibus bill, so I'm going to, vote no on it. I don't know the inner workings of what's happening and what the vote count is over in the Senate. So I don't know if McConnell is doing this intentionally or if he knows that some of his members are going to vote for it anyway. I do not know, but I wish that they wouldn't pass it because, it's over $1 trillion. What is it, $1.7 trillion? We're already spending way too much money. Our interest payments in just a few years are going to surpass the amount that we spend on the entire Department of Defense on a yearly basis. This is totally unsustainable. We cannot continue spending so much money that we don't have. We're borrowing it. It's awful.
And, of course, we've been urging our listeners to call the Capitol building, talk to their senators, and urge them to vote no. And if it means shutting down the government, shut down the government. Elon Musk just illustrated a very important point is that sometimes you just have too many workers. 90% of the workforce he laid off, and Twitter's doing just fine. Shut down the government. I'm tired of them, the Democrats, holding that over our heads. And every single time Republican leadership capitulates. So, Congresswoman, I'm with you on that omnibus spending bill. I do want to circle back, though, to the border because, we cannot sustain these numbers of illegals crossing this border.
And this is the exact reason that I've called for Secretary of Department of Homeland Security to either resign or face impeachment proceedings. Because, first of all, he is totally neglectful of securing the border, and then he has lied to Congress and the American people by saying the border is secure. I just got a text from a Yuma County supervisor this morning saying they are totally over capacity down in Yuma, Arizona, and that they're letting out men onto the street, because the non-government organizations don't have room for them. There's no room for processing them. It's just unbelievable. And the Biden administration has done nothing, and they are complicit in this human trafficking, in the drug trafficking, because they are complicit in this. They have done nothing. In fact, they are intentionally trying to open the border for everybody and anybody from 12 different countries from all over the world. We cannot sustain this. And when I heard that clip about the White House press secretary saying, we're calling on Congress to do something, well, myself and a large number of Republicans have sponsored legislation that would secure the border, but the Democrats won't hear the bill in committees. They won't pass it because they want totally open borders. They want to accept everybody and anybody. And I just was in a briefing. I'm part of the Border Caucus in Congress, and we got a briefing from the Auditor General for the Department of Homeland Security, and he said that they're not tracking all of these people. The computer systems aren't tracking them from one agency to another. We don't even know where all the people are. We don't know where young teenage girls are going, and if the families aren't being vetted properly that they're going to, so they're probably being sold into sex slavery. The Biden administration is complicit in this. They're complicit in this illegal activity, and they're complicit in the deaths of thousands of Americans from fentanyl.
On the Patriot Mobile Newsmaker line, Congresswoman Debbie Lesko from Arizona. I want to play some audio from yesterday. This is outgoing Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney at the J6 hearing, cut 10.
January 6, 2021 was the first time one American president refused his constitutional duty to transfer power peacefully to the next. During this time, law enforcement agents were attacked and seriously injured. The Capitol was invaded, the electoral count was halted, and the lives of those in the Capitol were put at risk. In addition to being unlawful as described in our report, this was an utter moral failure and a clear dereliction of duty. Evidence of this can be seen in the testimony of President Trump's own White House counsel and several other White House witnesses. No man who would behave that way at that moment in time can ever serve in any position of authority in our nation again. He is unfit for any office.
Your reaction to that, Congresswoman?
Well, Liz Cheney hates Donald Trump, and that's very apparent, and this whole January 6th committee is just a sham. It's just political. We've known that from the beginning. We've known that from when Nancy Pelosi refused to sit certain Republican members on the committee because she was afraid that they might actually ask questions. And so it's totally one-sided. It's all people that hate Donald Trump. They're out to get him. They've impeached him twice. It's been going on for, 6 years, over 6 years now. And it's just political and quite pathetic, to tell you the truth. What I wish, if they really wanted to get to the bottom of January 6th, I really wish they would investigate why the U.S. Capitol wasn't secured. To me, that's the number one question. You knew that there are, thousands of people coming to Washington, D.C. I knew that I would have to have my office. I told my folks in my office in Washington, D.C. to be prepared to spend the night in case they had to, because I figured that they might surround the complex and we couldn't get to our homes in Washington, D.C. I bought extra food. But for Pelosi and the Democrats not to have secured the U.S. Capitol is just unbelievable to me. When you saw videos, even videos from their people that testified, where there just is a couple police officers at the Capitol entrance, and there's, thousands of people. They didn't communicate. They didn't call in extra people that could deal with protesters. I don't understand why that didn't happen, because if the Capitol was secured, as it should have been, none of this would have been an issue.
And you're absolutely right. And after they investigate that question, I'd like to know about those FBI agents and their involvement, and including the informants who were a part of the group, the Proud Boys, that were there at the Capitol that day. So a lot of questions that were not addressed, a lot of video and selective tweets from President Trump calling for peace on that day that were not shared. I mean, it really was a kangaroo court. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they have no power. And as we pointed out, folks, President Trump has not been charged with a single crime so far. Congresswoman, got to leave it there. Really appreciate the great work you've done for our country, and we look forward to talking to you next year.
Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to you and all your listeners.
All right, Merry Christmas, Congresswoman. Debbie Lesko, everybody, from the 8th Congressional District there in Arizona.